Hey everyone, welcome back. Before we get into the battles, I want to give you all a huge shout out. I've been looking at all of the comments, all of the interactions here on that Heroes Niantic video, where I really want to see the game fixed. The PvP state has been in a very bad spot, but reading through all the comments, seeing all the people who agree, who want to see this game fixed, and all the passion, it's just heartwarming, and it gives me hope for where the future of PvP will go. So thank you all so much for, just interacting with that, and trying to make your voices heard. But today, for the Go Battle League, I did decide to use Magnezone, not Shadow Magnezone. I actually did use Shadow for a few games, but after getting one-shot by a couple Brave Birds, I decided, maybe I need a little bit more bulk on this thing. So we used the non-Shadow. It was a lot of fun, and honestly, it does a lot of the things the Shadow can do. Probably the only thing that is a little bit different is Shadow Gligar is a little bit less comfortable, but it is a fun Pokemon, something that's probably a little bit underrated as well. Let's take a look at this gameplay and see what this Magnezone team can do. Alright, let's get into the battle, see what we can do here with the regular Magnezone. A fantastic lead, the Azumarill. If it has Hydro Pump could do a lot of damage to us, but we see that the Trevenant here actually does go on the safe swap. We're a bit ABA weak to Trevenant here with this team, but our Gligar loves to be here, and honestly, we don't really need switch this game. We have both our Cresselia and our Magnezone that are great answers to that Azumarill. So I do let that go. Even if it was a Shadow Ball, it's not the end of the world, and since it wasn't, we actually get to undercharge this, get a bit of extra farm here, and maybe make it so that we can chip down that Azu a little bit more. The thing is about Azu, though, if it gets a huge farm down, and if they are running Hydro Pump, that could be a little bit awkward. Magnezone, it might not be, super squishy, at least not the non-Shadow variant here, but it still will take a lot of damage. It is not the bulkiest Pokemon out there, so even resisted play roughs and these bubbles will start adding up over time. They get a decent farm down against us, but we are almost at a move here on our Magnezone, so if they do swap out, we might be able to Wild Charge and swap, or just close out the game here with our Cresselia. In the back is going to be a Shadow Alolan Sandslash running the Powder Snow variant. This is a very awkward thing to see, especially because our Cresselia in the back is very weak to this. What I'm going to do is just stay in this matchup, throw straight Mirror Shot. As long as I can take down this A-Slash, I know for sure that my Cresselia can sweep that backline against that Azumarill. We shield up a move. Looks like they just went straight for Ice Punch. Very smart play, because honestly, that's probably the way to go in this matchup. You know that I'm going to get knocked out by it eventually with the fast moves, because these fast moves, they might be resisted, but they're doing a lot of damage to us. We're just spamming out Mirror Shots, hoping for a debuff, but honestly, at this point, we don't really need one. We get another Mirror Shot through. They do double shield, and at this point, we are at our next Mirror Shot ourselves. We can shield this up, just go straight Mirror Shot here and take the win, as long as we can knock out this A-Slash. If we can, then we get our Cresselia into that Azu, and Cresselia should easily be able to close out the match from there. Mirror Shot does land, they don't make a catch luckily. We can swap to our Cresselia, and now they're within range where Grass Knot would likely knock them out, maybe need two, just barely, but we do get the win there. The top left, GG's to them. Alright, next match, Magnezone into a Shadow Dragonite, a very interesting lead, a Pokemon that normally has a lot of fast move pressure, and Magnezone, it is a Steel type, so technically we resist these Dragon Breaths, right? But if you can see these Dragon Breaths, they are still ripping through our health. It's not looking great, but we do outpace them here to the Mirror Shots, and we likely will get 2 shields. We see that they do shield the first move. I do throw the bait, and we have the next Mirror Shot now. This is going to be interesting. What move do they throw? Dragon Claw we'd probably survive. They actually go for a Superpower instead, just to guarantee the knockout. I attempt to farm down here. They come in. I think that was a Lickitung. Looks like it was, yeah. Lickitung is a little bit awkward for a backline, but Magnezone able to get a Wild Charge into it. Gonna do a lot of damage. I know I can get another one here in 1 Volt Switch, so might as well throw it. If I can just knock out this whole Lickitung with our Magnezone, we are in a great spot. Looks like we take it out with 2 Wild Charges. We might not be Shadow, but our damage is still unreal here. We can safe swap to our Gligar. I don't want to get farmed down, and I know that if that Dragonite does come back in, that I want some energy here on our Gligar that we can leverage into a potential Steel type in the back. Dragon Claw does come through, does a lot of damage, but we still have a shield left over. What is in the back? It's going to be, looks like a Water Gun Lantern, so not the best thing to see, at least for our Gligar, but we would love to see this here with our Cresselia. We have Grass Knot, we are very bulky, and all of this energy will just get sponged up by Cress when it comes in, so I'd assume they'll either top left here, I guess maybe make us play this out. We'll just have to see what they want to do here. Water Guns, they do a bit of damage, but yeah, it's not going to do enough here, especially with that shield advantage. We can take the game there. Alright, next game, Magnezone into a Shadow Magnezone. Alright, so one thing that I haven't said yet is the team that I'm using is heavily inspired by Palash's Magnezone team, but she's the Shadow Magnezone. This is because Shadow Magnezone has so much just offensive pressure, but I didn't really like how squishy mine was. My specific Shadow Magnezone is absolutely terrible. Its stat spreads are honestly about as bad as it gets, and also its CP, I think it's like 1471 or something. So I was like, you know what, I'm done with this thing. I'm going to use the non-Shadow. Looks like they get a nice bait and a debuff. We got a bait of our own here with the Mirror Shots. This is a very bait and nuke-reliant matchup. Whoever can land the Wild Charge does win this one. And they did get a debuff on us, which is kind of bad. That frame drop made it so they get a nice catch here on their Gligar. Likely a Shadow. I don't know if I saw the Shadow yet. Yeah, it is a Shadow Gligar. So getting that one attack drop from that Mirror Shot makes it so this thing's a little bit more healthy than I'd like it to be, and that Magnezone has a lot of energy left over. Nice catch by them, which means that now our Magnezone doesn't have a move loaded for their own Magnezone, and we are in a very tricky spot if it is a mirror team. This is a very interesting matchup here against the Gligar, because I know this won't quite knock out, but it will put us into range where we can farm them down, hopefully have a move loaded against whatever comes into the back. And what are they going to throw? It is a dig. We did get a nice 10% attack drop there with that Moonblast. Not the most likely thing to happen, but we'll take it. Makes it so we survive that move a little bit better. Maybe stay out of Psycho Cut range here from their own Cresselia. We land the first Moonblast. Are they going to try to farm us down here? It seems like they're not throwing energy yet, so we'll just throw this next Grass Knot, try to get as much chip damage as we can, but I still don't know how I'm going to be able to deal with all that energy from that Shadow Magnezone. This is outside of dig range here for the Cresselia. What are they going to do? They come in with their Magnezone. They throw energy as well, because they know I could get to a Grass Knot if they didn't. And now I guess I try to make a catch here, right? I think that's my only win condition. Maybe catching a move using my Gligar here. If we can catch something, maybe there's a chance we get a farm down after a Wild Charge debuff happens. And if that does happen, then maybe we can win this game. It's going to be a close matchup here. Wild Charge does come through. We do shield it up, but they have back-to-back. What this means is we are going to be well within range where a Grass Knot or a Moonblast will knock us out from that Cresselia, and we know for sure that they have a lot of energy loaded. And unfortunately, they get to another move. I have to make a catch here, or else this Mirror Shot would knock us out, and this probably just seals the game at this point. We can't even make a catch with our Gligar, at least not another one, so we can get the Wing Attack down. We have a dig. I don't think it's going to be quite enough here. A very interesting Mirror match. The non-Shadow Zone, unfortunately, I think will be losing here to the Shadow Zone team, but not because it wasn't good, more because they made a great catch with that Wild Charge. GG's to our opponent here. They played that very well, and now let's see what we can do in the next game. Alright, Jellicent lead. Fantastic lead to see, but we see an interesting safe swap. I saw the pure Steel type, and I immediately thought it was going to be something more like a Registeel, but no, Berserker, I guess, is what we're seeing today. So we're going to come in, we're going to try to bait this nice bait by me. We do get it off properly, so we'll have a little bit of residual energy on our Magnezone, and now we'll have energy on our Gligar as well. We can easily tank the first move. It's going to be a Trailblaze. They will be able to start ramping up their fast attack damage, and we get a CMP there, so maybe a bit of a miscount by me, but this is fine. What this means is we can shield this up, go for a full undercharge. That's a close combat, actually, so yeah, full undercharge here probably puts them well within Wing Attack down range. We can have energy into the back line, back into that Jellicent. We can probably chip it down into a range where it's much more manageable with our Cresselia in the back, or maybe even just for our Magnezone to deal with. But this is not running Hex, this is running Bubble. What that means is they have a lot more fast move pressure, especially against my Gligar here, and they can farm me all the way down without throwing a charge move. I'll only get that one dig off, which means that we're going to have to try to sponge energy on Magnezone, but I think that at this point, a Surf or a Shadow Ball would basically knock us out or put us into fast move farm down range, make it very uncomfortable for us, and I think it's double Steel, so keeping my Magnezone alive could be very critical. Looks like it is a second Steel type in the back. That is an Alolan Sandslash here. They go straight for the Ice Punch. They think this might be enough, but keep in mind, we are running the non-Shadow. We survive that move just barely, get the Mirror Shot off, we have back-to-back moves, and maybe we can chip this into a range where our Cresselia in the back might have play. Mirror Shot is not the best move. Honestly, it's one of the worst moves in the game, but it is very cheap, it's very spammy, and we get a decent chunk of health here. It might be in Moonblast range, might even be in Psycho Cut plus Grass Knot range. As long as we can store a little bit of energy here, come out with a Grass Knot almost loaded, then we can knock out both this A-Slash and that Jellicent using these double Grass Knots. They throw another move. I know that Cresselia is bulky. My Cresselia is very bulky here especially, so I can survive this, get to the back-to-back moves here. We have them now, and now if that Jellicent comes in, one Psycho Cut plus a Grass Knot will be more than enough to knock them out. They are 2 bubbles off right now of getting to their next Surf, so no matter what, we should be able to get this move off, take the game despite the frame drops, trying to do their best to lose us that match. GG's to our opponent. Very tricky backline. It was a good lead, but honestly, that A-Slash in the back, putting in a lot of work. Alright, next match here, we're going to see that we have the Lickitung lead, a very neutral matchup. Our Cresselia gets to avoid this, and we are taking a lot of lick damage, but we don't take too much charge move pressure here, right? We know that Magnezone is a very interesting Pokemon. It is a Steel type, but it is not exactly a bulky Steel type. So even though these charge moves from this Lickitung will be resisted, they will still probably do like 25% to our health, and we'll try to just get a shield here from the Licky, and then swap into our Gligar. Since they haven't thrown any energy yet, I know that my Gligar can sponge this, especially after I got that debuff. We're going to take almost nothing from these body slams, and they come in with a Shadow type Flosion. I haven't really talked about it yet, but yeah, Fire types are a bit of a core breaker here for my team. I don't have a great answer to Fire types in general. Gligar is probably the best place for it to be, and we have our Aerial, we have our Energy Advantage Gligar here, able to get to yet another Aerial. This should likely get a knockout. It's Shadow into Shadow, Typhlosion very squishy, and we can take out one of the most problematic Pokemon we could see here. In comes a Poliwrath. I have my Cresselia that can easily just come in, absorb all of the damage here, and yeah, that's why you love the Magnezone and the Cresselia core. Very strong duo to pair together. Next match, yet another Dragon-type lead, but this one is not a Dragonite. This is a Dragonair, which means that my fast moves are actually resisted this time, and they're able to do a lot of damage in return here with these Dragon Breaths. We can see that we're almost already at half health just with resisted damage, and these Aqua Tails would almost knock us out from this range. With that said, we are going to be able to get up to the back-to-back Mirror Shots, almost have 3 loaded at this point. Magnezone is very spammy. If Mirror Shot was a better move, I'd be very happy, but it's not the best move. It's more of a bait move here, and it can't get a debuff sometimes, so that's always fun when you get it. We'll go for the double Mirror Shot, try to get both shields, and now we can maybe get to another move here, but they do throw energy. I know Skarmory is possible in the back, but at this point, my Magnezone is a little bit too low to really make anything happen there. So we're just going to take the shield advantage, try to make something happen with our Cresselia and our Gligar in the back, and see how they want to play this out. They are building up energy. They haven't swapped out yet, but here in comes the Registeel. It might be ABB Steel or something like that, but I don't know if that would be the case. It could also be a Lantern or something in the back that I would still have play into, or maybe like a Charge-a-Bug. Maybe that's why they swapped out. They want to keep their Dragonair alive if they want to try to bat out a Gligar or something like that. We'll just have to wait and see, right? Hopefully whatever it is, our Cresselia will have some play into in the backline. First dig does come through. They did get a nice attack drop on us, which is bad for us, good for them. And we go for the CMP here on the dig. Want to have as much energy as possible to throw against that Dragonair. If they get greedy, we can throw an Aerial Ace. They cannot farm us down because we are 4 off of the next move. Do they know that? Looks like they get a little bit greedy here. We get the Aerial Ace off. What is their backline going to be? We are deep up with our Gligar, so I don't really want to stay in this matchup. So if I can, I will swap out. And there is a Charge-a-Bug in the back. We have so much energy. We still have our Gligar left over. We have a shield advantage, and we can take the game. All right, next match against an Azumarill lead. A fantastic lead. That's exactly where our Electric type wants to be, but they instantly safe swap here with an Annihilate. When you see Ozzy, when you see one Ghost, you have to expect maybe it's double Ghost or something like that. If it's a Trevenant in the back, we're in a lot of trouble with this Core Breaker. And also, we're in a lot of trouble because we called an Ice Punch bait, but they still get the boost. This Annihilate is never punished. Even though they go for the Bozo play, they try to go for a Night Slash, try to get a cheesy shield from us, and they get rewarded here, I guess, with a boost, right? I hate Annihilate. I hate these boosts, and it looks like they're going to get a second one here. They double boost on us, but at this point, we have chipped them down pretty low. I really wish I would have thrown that move here before I got the CMP. Bit of a mistake by me, but I know that we are very strongly into Azumarill. I can farm this down with Cresselia and maybe get some sort of energy lead here. Enough of an energy lead to make it so it doesn't really matter that we lost Switch. Azumarill does come in. This is probably the best matchup for it to be in. Magnezone can resist all of the damage aside from the bubbles, or if they're running Hydro Pump, that might be able to do a lot of damage to us. But it looks like they do come in here. What is their third going to be? I'm still guessing another Ghost type. Either Trevenant, Giratina, maybe Skeledirge. But if it was Skeledirge, I would expect them to bring that in here. If not, I guess we'll just have to wait and see what their next Pokemon is going to be. They're building up a lot of energy. What move are they going to throw at us? There's a chance it's a Hydro Pump. They did build up a lot of energy. What is it going to be? It is actually a Pump. So good that we actually avoided that here against our Magnezone. It is going to be that Giratina in the back. Luckily, we have a Moonblast. And even though that Magnezone isn't great into Giratina, we do have shield advantage. We have a bit of energy as well. I think 2 Wild Charges will still easily be enough here to knock out this Giratina. We can shield up a move. They'll likely just go for an Ominous Wind, but that's fine. We kind of have to shield that up anyway. We can get to the back-to-back Wild Charges. They are not quite yet at the next move. They're going to have it right now, but Magnezone does, in fact, win CMP here. We can go for the first Wild Charge. It almost knocks them out. We go for the second, and now that Azumarill is in a very tricky spot. They dumped a lot of energy against our Cresselia, and I think we can Volt Switch them down if they don't throw a move. We have the Mirror Shot here after 2. They can't bubble us down even after our defense has been dropped so much. Mirror Shot should be able to take them out and take the match here against a very tricky backline against a double boosted Ape. Next match, what are we going to see? A Carbink lead. All right, fantastic. That's exactly what we want to see with our Steel type. And in comes a Poliwrath. We come in with our Cresselia. And they top left. That's exactly what you want to see with Carbink teams. Let's go. Next game here, another Fairy type lead. This time it's not a Carbink, but it is a Whimsicott. So interesting stuff here. We're going to overfarm as much as we can because they're staying in a very bad matchup, so we have energy to go against whatever the backline is. They safe swap a Vigoroth, not the safest swap in an Annihilate meta, but we don't have one of our own. So instead we're going to throw the Wild Charge and get a full farm down here against this Vigoroth. We're going to be able to farm them down right when they get to the back-to-back moves, as long as the Swing Attack KOs, which I'm pretty sure at this point it will. They will only get one move off. They do have a lot of energy left over on their Whimsicott. But at this point, we also have a lot of energy on our Gligar. If they happen to come in with their Whimsicott, I know that Gligar probably is going to be a bit more useful in the back. They actually throw a Grass Knot here. Interesting play. So they don't actually have Seed Bomb. They're running Grass Knot, probably Moonblast as well. And we can go for the Ace. We can go for another one. Either get a Shield or make this a 3-on-1 game. The only thing that could be kind of tricky right now in the back would be a Fire type, maybe a Talonflame, maybe a Shadow Typhlosion coming on in. Not what you want to see here, but we do get to this Aerial Ace right at the last second. And even though this is a huge Core Breaker, this is a Shadow Typhlosion. It's not bulky. I think at this point, our Cresselia can survive a Blast Burn, get to a Moonblast. We still have the ability to get to another move on our Magnezone as well. So I think as long as we can take a shield with a Moonblast, we are in a great spot. They actually end up trying to bait here with the Thunder Punch. We can easily survive that, go for a Moonblast, and now they have to dump yet another Blast Burn into us if they want to knock us out. They have to use a lot of energy here. Magnezone is very squishy, but I'm pretty sure at this point we have chipped it down into range where Magnezone could deal with it. We can no-shield this yet again. If this is a Blast Burn, so be it. If not, we probably just win the game here with our Cresselia getting to another Moonblast. What looked like a terrible position here. Cresselia Cresselia is able to overcome. We don't need Future Sight for this thing. We have Moonblast, we have Psycho Cut. That's all that you need here to take out the fire types. Next matchup here against Dunebug97, fantastic trainer, 3-time regional champion this season, 4-time regional champion just in his entire play Pokemon career. So one of the best trainers in the world here, using the Shadow Gligar lead. A very awkward lead for us, but we have play if we go for a Wild Charge, and then try to, absorb energy here with our Gligar, maybe make something happen in the backline. They throw a bit of energy as well. That makes me wonder if they don't have a hard answer to Gligar, and if I have some sort of play in the backline. They come in with a Lantern. Luckily, this is a Spark variant Lantern, not running Water Gun. With that said, even though the Spark nerf did happen this season, Spark still does the exact same amount of damage against us as it did before. You can see that we're well below half health here, easily within range where a Surf would knock us out, and even though our Gligar will go down, I know for a fact Magnezone can get a very nasty farm down, hopefully use the energy against the backline. Dunebug97 does love his fighters. It might be like an Annihilate or a Vigoroth in the back, but if we farm this down shield once, we can probably get shields back or just do a massive amount of damage here, throwing charge moves with our Magnezone. We have the full farm down. We are almost at back-to-back moves. We have the Wild Charge loaded. We have another Mirror Shot loaded in the bank as well. So we can throw this move, swap out, clear the debuff, and since they no-shield that move, we actually have a ton of play here, farming down the Annihilate with our Cresselia, making it so that Gligar in the back is in a very tricky position. And now, if we get enough energy, try to strip shields from this Gligar, we are able to win the game just by stripping shields with these Grass Knots, and then Mirror Shotting this Gligar, Volt Switching down the Annihilate. That should be able to take us the match. Grass Knot does come through. It does almost knock them out. Well, it would have if they didn't have that shield. They have to shield this once again. They've saved their shields for the end game here. And the best thing about this matchup, Cresselia is so bulky. I know they have to throw 2 digs here if they want to knock me out, and they can't throw 2 digs and have yet another dig loaded to knock out our Magnezone in the back. We should be in a great position. First dig does come through. We are almost at the next move. This has to be a dig to knock us out here. I want to make sure a catch doesn't happen. A catch would absolutely lose us this game. So we do a Volt Switch here. We know that they're not at a move yet. We throw this Mirror Shot, and now as long as we can Volt Switch down that Annihilate, we are able to win this match. We are very low, but I think the non-Shadow Zone here should be able to survive these moves and easily take the game. GG's to Dunebug97, fun match. Alright, next matchup. What are we going to see? The Magnezone lead into the Skarmory. This is exactly where we want to see it. Our backline is incredibly weak to Skarmory, so keeping switch this game will likely be absolutely critical if we want to win this match. We're going to swap in with our Gligar when you see this Annihilate swap in. This is one of the best matchups for Gligar to be in, but they might try to be baiting this out, right? If you instantly save swap an Annihilate, there's a good chance there's something else in the back that might be a little bit weaker to a Gligar here, and it could be a little bit tricky depending on what that might be. They do go for a nice bait here, but I know that since I swapped at least quick enough to get to my air releases before these Shadow Balls, I can always be in control of this matchup. We get yet another shield from them, so now I know I just shield once, I farm them down, and digs, even though they are resisted into that Skarmory, will put them very low into a range where our Magnezone or our Cresselia will have a much easier time dealing with them later on. Shields are down. Magnezone loves to see that, but shields are down also on our side, which means Magnezone has nothing to hide behind at this point. Brave Bird, it might be incredibly resisted, but it still does a lot of damage here to Magnezone. So if I can make it so this thing gets less farm, that would be great, but they're going to farm us all the way down. Probably have 2 moves almost loaded. With that said, Cresselia is almost going to be able to deal with this Skarmory here, because if we can get a Volt Switch through on a debuffed Skarmory after a Brave Bird, then I think a Moonblast would be enough to knock them out after that point. We'll come in with Zone. They'll probably throw a Brave Bird here. Huge frame drop denies us that sneak, which means we lose an entire 4-turn move, and we could have got a Volt Switch through when they would be debuffed. Another frame drop comes through there. In the back is a Mandibuzz, though. ABA weak to Electric. We have a Wild Charge. How much does this do? It does a lot, but at this point, we are in a very precarious position. Mandibuzz has a lot of play into our Cresselia. I think we are able to swap out in time, though, where they can only get to 1 Dark Pulse. If that's the case, I can probably still win this game with Cresselia, but it's going to be a lot harder than it should have been if that Skarmory did take that extra Volt Switch that it really should have taken. We throw this move right before they get to their next move so that they can't really farm us down with Skarmory, and now if we can get to a Moonblast, Psycho Cut them down, or maybe even get to another Grass Knot, we might be able to win this game. Biggest lose condition at this point is if they Brave Bird us here, and then they can Brave Bird our Magnezone. That would likely be the way we lose this match, but we do a lot of damage here with that Moonblast. They throw a move, we live a Sky Attack, we do get knocked out by a Brave Bird. What do? They throw a Sky Attack, we survive 1 extra shielding, we get to this Grass Knot, and we barely knock out the Skarmory. A game that should have been an instant win became very tough because of that frame drop, because of that complete denial of our 4-turn move, but still able to close it out. Alright, next matchup against Lyle Jess, just fighting all of the multiple-time regional champions here, I guess, today, and this time we're getting a very nice lead. This one is going to be an Altaria. With that said, this Altaria is doing a lot more damage than you might expect a resisted move to do, especially from a bulky Pokemon. We're already below, or I guess almost at half health. We can throw these Wild Charges, do a lot of damage back to this Altaria, and in comes a Bastiodon. The thing about this team is we don't have a hard answer to this, but after getting this Wild Charge chip damage, they're very likely going to be in range where I can knock them out here with a dig. And if we can get a bit of energy as well to throw against that Altaria, maybe we can put them into Mirror Shot range, make it so it's not quite as awkward for our Magnezone to deal with, and maybe our Magnezone is going to have play into the back line. I know that they stayed in that lead a little bit, right? So I think they might be a little bit weaker to that Magnezone than they're letting on, and a Stone Edge comes through, we survive that, we get a nice wing attack down, and we can throw energy against that Altaria when it comes back in. It is the ult that comes in, throw the Aerial Ace, make sure we can chip it down just a little bit here, get something out of this matchup, and see how they want to play it out. Looks like it's almost at the red at this point, which means that our Magnezone should be able to get it into range where Mirror Shots plus Fast Moves can knock them out. The first move does come through. We will throw the Mirror Shot, not debuff our own defense stat. What is going to happen? They end up letting that go, and then they swap into, that's a Water type, a Shadow Feraligatr. I could have thrown the Wild Charge here, but we're fishing for a debuff. At this point, they have 2 shields, right? They have to shield this move. And even though this is generally not the best matchup for Cresselia, after landing that Volt Switch, we're actually putting them in range where we can knock them out with a single Grass Knot. No shield the first. If it's a crunch and they get a debuff, that would be terrible. That's why we no shield the first, and it is actually just a Hydra. So we survive that pretty easily, get the first Grass Knot off, and now we need to try our best to get to another Grass Knot, fast move down that Altaria before they farm our Cresselia down too. If they can farm down Cresselia, get to a move against Magnezone before we get a move, that is the only way to lose this game. But that Altaria is very low. Are they in range where Psycho Cuts can outpace the damage that the Dragon Breaths are going to do? Grass Knot comes through, it knocks out the Feraligatr, in comes the Altaria, Psycho Cuts just barely able to take the game. GG's to Lyle, fun match. You know, you're always seeing these Shadow Magnezones here in the Open Great League, but why aren't people trying out this normal Magnezone? It's a lot of fun. It doesn't quite have the amount of, impact that the Shadow has, but being able to survive more charge moves, no shielding a lot of moves, or just surviving counters, fast moves in general, it is an interesting pick, and it was a fun Pokemon to try to use today. Alright everyone, thank you so much for watching today's video. I stream Pokemon Go PvP nearly every day at twitch.tv/ItsAXN, so if you want to see this kind of content live, make sure to check me out there. I'm also going to upload a lot more videos to this channel, so if you want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe. Alright, thank you again for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.